I'm Rick Sessinghaus, and thanks again for joining me for another episode for Perform for Success. Now, today I want to share a subject that, I'll be honest with you, I've had some difficulty in communicating to others. It's how and why I failed. Yeah, that's right. I want to tell you why I failed at one of my biggest goals in life. So I'll be very transparent. I'm a performance coach who helps athletes and business professionals optimize their health and develop the mental and emotional skills to achieve success. And to be able to do this, I learned the most about performance when I failed. And we've heard that a lot, right? Kind of a cliche of, there's really no failure. It's just feedback and learning. And I agree with that to a point. However, when failure now stops you from pursuing the goal, then you didn't achieve the goal. And it's okay to understand why that occurred. Now, my ego doesn't like to talk about failure, right? It hurts. It reminds me that I wasn't good enough in that time of my life. Now, however, as I've gotten older, I realized that embracing why and how I felt short as I've gotten older, I realized that embracing why and how I fell short has been the lessons that led to wins in other areas of my life, in my career, and my family. And so what were these lessons? Well, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you about the goal that I was pursuing. I was playing college golf, and I'll be honest with you, I was a very average college golfer. Okay. But I had made some big strides since high school. I was moving in the right direction. And I had this dream of playing on the PGA Tour. Big goal, right? It's going to be my career, going to be my life. So it's pretty huge, right? And when I look back now at why I didn't achieve that goal, why I never got to the PGA Tour, why I never, sustained the level of performance that was needed, many factors came into play. And of course, now it seems obvious. And why didn't I address it at the time? But kind of back to where I talked about the ego before is at the time, this is early 20s, my ego didn't want to admit of certain things that I should or could work on. And it just had this kind of fairy tale idea that, oh yeah, I put a little time in and poof, magically, you're now a professional golfer. So there's a few key elements that when I look back, that if I could have done differently, I think would have helped me get even closer to that goal. Number one was I didn't realize how much total dedication and practice was needed. And now you're going to say, duh, Rick, professional golf. I get it. But, you put in 3 hours of practice, you go play 9 holes, you go work out, you look at your nutrition. I thought I was doing enough. I'll be honest with you. But I obviously was not. And when I look back, and because now I've got to coach players that have been on the PGA Tour and stuff like that, I do see that there was a disconnect. there's a true dedication, a true discipline, and then there is, I think I like to do this, which it wasn't 100% into it. So the first thing is, again, realizing that practice that was needed and the total dedication behind that. Number two is that I underestimated my competition. I didn't understand how good they were and how hard they trained. So I'm trying to catch up to people who are already better than me, and they're training at a much more intense level than I was. How the heck was I supposed to expect to not only catch them, but surpass them to achieve that goal? So I know there's a lot of people who say, hey, don't worry about your competition and stuff like that. But I had to learn from my competition. What were those great players doing that I could maybe replicate? What kind of discipline, what kind of practice routines, and copy them? So I kind of looked at it as, if I just get better, yeah, but I was not getting better at the same rate they were, so they must have been doing something different. So that was a big learning for me, is I certainly looked at my competition, but I didn't address enough of why they were better and what can I learn from them. The next thing that I learned was I practiced my strengths way too much. So I remember there's been some books and some things about, that you should only really focus on your strengths because that'll get you ahead in your career. It doesn't work that way in golf. Okay. It doesn't work that way in certain careers where you have to have a balance of performance in many different skill sets in order to achieve. So let me make this specific here. I was a very good ball striker. Okay. Hitting the driver, hitting the iron shots, hitting the shots from a full swing perspective at a pretty high level. Guess what I like to practice? Full swing. That made me feel good. However, why was I not scoring as well as others? Was not about my ball striking. It was about putting. It was about short game shots. It was about certain things that I was not putting the time in. So it's easy to say, oh, play to your strengths and be strong. It doesn't work that way sometimes. Like in the business world, I have people who want to take it to another level and they want to go from, let's say, a sales professional to now being a leader of a team of sales. Well, they're going to have to develop leadership. They're going to have to develop being able to be more emotionally intelligent. They're going to have to develop public speaking skills. If they just go to their strengths, which was selling, they're not going to progress to the next level. So, and I know there's, again, this research on, just find your strengths and do that. But if you go and escalate to higher and higher levels, you need to be more well-rounded. There's more skills that are needed. So I ignored my weaknesses. I only trained my strengths. And guess what? That part of my game kept getting better. But what had ended up happening is my performance, which is measured in score, was not getting much better. So I wasn't honest with myself to work on my weaknesses. And those weaknesses is really what was the difference between getting to another level. The next thing that I learned was I was pursuing this goal for the wrong reasons. I've done a podcast on motivation before, and understanding now is what motivates people to get to higher and higher levels. And sometimes there's a pain motivator, a pleasure motivator, what we call an intrinsic motivator for things that you love to do, extrinsic reasons for the money, the fame, and getting support from other people. Well, guess what? I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it a lot for extrinsic reasons because the lifestyle, the PGA Tour, and the money and the fame, and oh yeah, I enjoy the game. But I found that putting the time in on a day-to-day basis, I wasn't enjoying the training part of it, which is the intrinsic part of just in love the activity. And, look back at it, I didn't have the passion that it took to get going to that next level. And I talk to a lot of people, especially I have a lot of college athletes going to turn professional, or you get people coming out of college and going into the business world and go, why the heck are you going into that career? And if I hear a lot of reasons of that they want to make a difference, they love what they're doing, they love reading about it, great. Okay, they're on the right track. Now, you can have extrinsic reasons also, making a lot of money and fine. But if it's only extrinsic, it's going to get burned out pretty quickly. So I was pursuing it for the wrong reason. Now, one of the last areas that I learned is I was underestimating how important the mental game skills were to performance. Specifically for me, I never became as mentally tough to bounce back after poor shots and those bad bounces and all the other adversity that I experienced. Also, I only tapped into the level of confidence that was needed a few times. Now, as I ask my clients now, if you are playing poorly, can you still be confident? Or in the business world, if you don't close those last two sales, can you still be confident you're going to make that sale next? Well, unfortunately, I didn't. So if I saw poor play, my confidence went down. Yet, now by studying and knowing what champions do, is that their level of confidence is sustained no matter what the past result was. They have an internal confidence and belief that supersedes anything that just happened. So notice all of the reasons of why I failed had nothing to do with my physical talent. Now, that is why I became fascinated with sports psychology and the performance enhancement arena, is that I ignored most of the important elements to perform for success. I ignored them because at that time, it was about physical skills and hit the ball better and do these things and have a perfect golf swing and stuff. And yeah, work in the gym a little bit, but the mental side was just kind of briefly talked about. And now that I look back at it, I understand that I had lacked a core performance traits that the mental game would have provided. Yeah, at times I was confident, at times I was focused, at times I was emotionally, resilient, but they weren't mastered skills. And that's why I had so much variance in my performance. So now that I learned from my biggest failure, I've applied those skills to my other goals. I became a successful coach and speaker, and I've certainly helped golfers and other athletes get to that next level. And now working with business people is that I love helping people. I've studied many different things. I've learned from the best teachers. I understand my weaknesses now, and I work on them. And I stay focused and confident during my coaching sessions, during my speeches. And that way I'm being able to be the best that I can in that moment. So my question for you is, when did you fail? What did you learn? Did you need more education, more knowledge, more experience? Or did you need to develop skills such as discipline and focus and emotional control and confidence? What's great about life is that we get to choose new goals to pursue with new learnings from past pursuits. So looking back, I'm so happy that I failed. Thank you for listening. Please share this podcast with others that could benefit. If I can be of service to you, please reach out. You can reach out and email me, rick@performforsuccess.com. And you can look at some of my services and blog posts and other resources that I have on my website, performforsuccess.com. Remember, we are performing every day, so let's perform for success.